Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
Great to be with you on the show today.
Mm-hmm. It's a great day today. It's a great day.
Great day? I figured you'd be in mourning since your entire world revolves around Shams and George.
No. I mean, I've had a great week, okay? On Sunday, the Saints beat the Cowboys. Arsenal won the North London Derby, which is like Yankees-Red Sox times a billion.
Yeah, sure.
And then the Yankees beat the Red Sox as well. It was an incredible 3-game stretch in the span of about 8 hours. Mm-hmm. Yankees clinched a playoff spot last night.
Fabulous.
I feel pretty good. It's a great time. But I am in mourning for the Shams Woj stuff that's going on. So it was announced yesterday during the day. Adrian Wojnarowski, Woj, as he's known on social media, has agreed to become the general manager of the men's basketball program at St. Bonaventure, his alma mater. He announced he is retiring from ESPN, and then the story dropped after that from, I believe it was Jeff Passan, Adam Schefter, and Pete Thamel kind of combined, because the four of them are the known, like, big media sphere breaking news guys. It's the four of them. Now Woj is departing and going back to St. Bonaventure, and we'll discuss the general manager role in a second, because I have questions for you on what that is. Is it a kind of newer topic, I think you would say? Is that fair? It's a newer position, at least in college?
Not really.
Okay. Well, we'll discuss it anyway in a little bit. But involved in that is the idea that there is a chance that Shams Charania will leave to join ESPN because his deal with the, I believe, Stadium and the Athletic is up in a year. Mm-hmm. And there's rumors that he'll get bought out and he'll leave and join ESPN to take the role that Adrian Wojnarowski has left, because, as he admitted, he was kind of burnt out a little bit because, spoiler, he was up 24/7 pretty much doing his job on his phone at all times. And now he gets a bit of a break, gets to go back to his alma mater where he's had a strong relationship for years. So he's excited to go back to the Jandaley School of Communication where he was and where he graduated in 91. So it's very cool. You don't seem enthused, Steve.
This is a typical trend that is happening, in all honesty, with writing media. Dana O'Neill left the Athletic 10 days ago to become the head of communications at Villanova. Mm-hmm. Not a surprise. Him leaving didn't surprise me in the least. Mm-hmm. It's too much. Yeah, you make money, but the commitment to it is just over and over, the grind of it. Mm-hmm. And especially with the Athletic is actually cutting back as to how they do things. Mm-hmm. That's not a good sign. Mm-hmm. Newspapers are cutting back on how they do things. Not a good sign. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of work and less money in it now. Now, Woj was making a decent amount of money, and look, a lot of that stuff he was fed anyway. Mm-hmm. I pointed that out before. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like
that's how it works, though, is that you get fed things by people, and
including the league. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, but I'm just trying to tell the truth here.
It's part of the job.
Yeah. So I'm not surprised he left. Mm-hmm. It's too much of a grind, and to let everybody know that a coach has been fired from that you'd never heard of with a team in the NBA. They've won 8 games. Okay, who's their coach? Who? That's breaking news. It is. Okay, I mean, Mike Tomlin would be breaking news. But this guy, no, it'd be an alert.
Yeah.
But
there are some things that he's broken where it's been big. I mean,
oh, sure. There's always going to be things that are big.
The night where there was a literal earthquake in Las Vegas, at the same time he reported that Kawhi and PG would be joining the Clippers, with Paul George getting traded from the Thunder to the Clippers. That night, there was a little earthquake in Henderson, Nevada, where the G League was going on for their summer play.
I was watching that night, yeah.
And the news broke at like 1 a.m., and everyone was like, oh my God, what's happening? As a Knicks fan, Mikal Bridges, he broke that news, I was freaking out in my bedroom.
Right.
Called my friends. We were freaking out. It was
Right.
incredible. So,
I mean, but it's a league that, like, for example, I mean, Paul George is not one of the top 100 players of all time. Not even close.
Nope.
Okay, so him moving around and getting more money means virtually nothing to me because I just think he's a good player, not a great player.
agreed.
And that's just me. But he takes this job at St. Bonaventure, which where he'll be the general manager.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing more and more schools get GMs, which you need these days. Andy Frank, for example, is essentially the general manager of Penn State football. And I talked to Andy about this yesterday.
And people hear GM. They hear it, they know immediately in pro sports what it looks like. What does it look like in college? Because I feel like it's a pretty big difference in terms of just like the responsibilities that person has.
Well, you're not signing anybody. I'm talking about the contracts. Now, maybe at some point with collective bargaining that may change. Where suddenly out of nowhere you signed a contract. Well, you better play the bowl game. You're in the contract. But they are in charge of, Andy essentially is in charge of all the recruiting, in charge of all the evaluations when it comes to transfer portals and things like that. So you have to have a lot of open doors, connections to make a lot of this happen. The organization needed to host a camp. The organization needed to host a recruiting weekend. The organization needed to host an unofficial visit. The organization needed to host an official visit. The organization of, hey, James needs to be here, 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 and here.
Yeah.
I mean, there are times where I think James last week, I believe, saw 45 players.
Woof.
Well, no. Actually, my apologies. Wait. Thursday night. Is it Thursday night or Wednesday? He does recruiting calls. I think it's Thursdays. And he talks it to as many as 40 to 50 recruits on a Thursday night. Now, it's all a bunch of different classes combined.
Of course.
He's going out to Pittsburgh this weekend. You know, I think he and Terry Smith are going to go. And they've got to be organized about, hey, I need the helicopter here, I need it there, I need it here, I need it there. The helicopter thing is one of the most, there are too many idiotic statements made about things. Where do you know how tough it is for me to sit here sometimes and goes, really? You want to know why he has the helicopter?
Why?
Not so he makes the flashy entrance. Because he needs to be from point A to point B. He's trying to be in multiple places in a short period of time. That's why he does it. So, for example, he's got two prospects. Say he's got two prospects.
Sure.
He wants to be there early for the first one. But what if he ends up like there and he can't make it to the second one? Well, what do you think the second kid feels like? And their family? Well, I guess they thought that was the priority. No. Right? You go over to the first one. You kind of, you talk to people. You watch some of the game. Boom, you get in the helicopter. You go to the next one and make sure you're there for them. Right? That's why they do it.
You are punctual.
Right. But it allows you to do more and be more inclusive in your recruiting instead of throwing all your eggs into a basket. And then, geez, I'm really sorry. I wanted to get over there. I just couldn't make it. The traffic was bad. It's a Friday night. It's like, oh, gee, suddenly out of nowhere, the helicopter thing makes sense. Well, you have a logistics group that has to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Okay? You're on the road, right? I remember when he was on the road at Ohio State a couple of years ago. Okay? He made sure he got over to Drew Aller's game, and he made sure he got over to see Caden Saunders.
And that worked pretty well, I think.
Right, but because Penn State was playing at Ohio State, that's how they worked the recruiting.
If you're in a location, may as well travel around.
Right. In other words, so a general manager is evaluating all these people to say, hey, target. Okay, this is how we have to go. We've got to go here. We got to go here. We got to do this. We got to do that. We've got to be able. Okay. Okay. Now we're going to go at the transfer portal. Well, okay. In the transfer portal, look, we've gone through all these videos on transfer portal. this guy fits, this guy fits, this guy fits. Let's now see if they personality-wise fit with what we're trying to do, and that's where the in-person stuff comes into play. The GM has to organize all of that. And that's why today in college sports you have football staffs as big as they are, because you have to have a separate recruiting staff that takes care not only of the 3 to 5 year player that you're going to bring in and develop, but also takes care of the transfer portal as well. You need to have and you need to have somebody in charge. Andy is incredibly organized. He does all of this and has done it on really at a high level for a long time. This is now Woj is in basketball. So it's going to be, hey, look, I mean, look at Penn State basketball this year. Let's just take them as an example.
Kyle F. came in with Mike Rhodes.
Okay, so you come in, and in this particular year, you got 4 players that you recruited on your 3 to 5 year plan. Okay, because you don't know if somebody's going to get it. So, so 3 to 5 year plan. Okay, now we got 4 other spots to fill because now we're up to 9. And let's see, do we want to fill all 13? Okay, all right. Yes, we do. Let's go 4 transfers. So you've got to have of your transfer list. Somebody has the ability to organize. Okay, let's talk. Hey, I think Freddie DeLeon fits. Let's talk to him. Let's see what he's like. Hey, we need a 7-footer, right? About out of Northern Illinois. How about Kachi? Kachi's a George School kid, right? Southeastern PA guy. Things aren't working out at Xavier, right? Let's take a look at. See, this is what you have to do to get people in. And there are other people that did make visits here. It turns out, but these 4 are the ones that wanted to come here, and Penn State wanted them. That's what you have to do, but that's on a constant basis. It's not like, good. Letter of intent day on the second Wednesday in November. We're all set. No.
You're looking working. You're looking 2 years ahead.
You're working 2 and 3 years ahead. And that's what Woj will be doing. And he has, and now the question is going to be, what kind of eye does he have for talent? He has a great talent for information. Does he have a good eye for talent? And that's where, but he's with a great guy, as you know.
Mark Schmidt.
Okay, Schmitty is top shelf. When he was an assistant coach here, he and I always had a good time because I have so many relatives from Boston, and Schmitty has had a pretty good Boston accent for a long time. Right, so on my mom's side, they're all from up there. And I go, hey Mac, how are you? So I have nothing but the highest regard for Mark, and I think that Woj ended up in a great situation. And Olean is an acquired taste,
but
that's fine.
If you're him, again, he went to school there, so he has a connection with the school itself, so he can sell kids on the idea of like this is somewhere you want to be because he went there and he knows the school and he's been involved with the program. He's been fundraising for them for years, and so he gets it. And part of his role apparently is going to be name, image, and likeness allocation, recruiting and supporting Mark Schmidt, and that's where it's going to kind of be in terms of recruiting and everything else going on.
And here's the other part. Because he is a St. Bonaventure graduate, this is exactly what I told Mike Maudie. Mike, when he took the job at Penn State, he said, let me ask you. He says, I've been going through all this training. I said, Mike, let me give you a piece of advice. I said, if you are not from Penn State, you are selling Penn State. I said, you are a graduate of Penn State who played football at the highest level here and is beloved by people. You are sharing Penn State. You're sharing your life and your experience here with people. Well, he put it up on his wall. And I was very complimented by that. No, it was. Because that's what it is. So he's going back to something that he's passionate about. He cares about. He wants to see the Riley Center filled. St. Bonaventure succeed. He'll throw his heart and soul into it because that's his alma mater. I actually was asked. I was a little surprised about this. I was asked yesterday at the quarterback club because I was the guest speaker to start out, where I graduated from.
I said, where did you graduate from, Steve?
I looked at him. I said, well, I'm a 1980 speech communications broadcasting graduate of the Pennsylvania State University. I was like, oh, yeah. I'm like, God. how do you not know that? And I looked over, I thought to myself, then I made some side comment. I said, I don't even think the College of Communications here know I graduated from here.
I don't think I pay enough attention to know that. But that was some interesting
news. They pay
news.
attention to a lot of other people. They don't pay attention to me.
Yeah. That was some interesting news from yesterday. We didn't get to discuss it, of course. We had some interviews here on the show instead, which was, of course, very fun. But joining that in the news yesterday, sorry, got stuff in my throat there, was the news that apparently, and I don't want to know specifics because we don't know anything per James Franklin, the injury to KJ Winston. He apparently is going to be out with a long-term injury.
Yep.
And as James always says, he's not going to reveal anything until he can talk with the family and get it confirmed before he says anything major, like did with Rapplier. Like, he waits.
Right.
So with Winston, if he is to be out, what does that mean for the Penn State defense? What does that mean for the position he plays? And who would fill in his role while he is absent from the team by injury, let's say for 2 weeks or for the rest of the season? What does that look like for this team moving forward?
Well, I mean, obviously he's not playing this weekend.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, long term, I figured it's more than 3 days.
Yeah. So, look, this is where you have to rely on your depth. So, Andrew Rapplier is out. Okay. So, let's start with that. Well, fortunately they've got Khalil Dinkins, who came back. Luke Reynolds has been playing well. And you still have Joey Schlaffer, and you still have Jerry Cross. Okay.
Plus Tyler Warren, who's...
Well, everybody knows who the starter is. I mean, I'm just talking about behind him at this point.
I was just adding that in.
Right. So then you get to the safety spot. You already have Jay Reed, and you have Zakee Wheatley. Now what do you want to do? DeJuan Lane is a freshman who's very talented, good-looking player. Okay, we all know that somebody like that, based on the early going, is somebody you're going to look at as a possibility. Right? But you'll have a lot of corners here.
Yeah.
Elliott Washington, A.J. Harris, Jalen Kimber, Davian Collins, Zion Tracy, Cam Miller, And so now you have a mixture of guys at the corner spot.
That could possibly shift.
Well, not shift, but you can change up how you play defensively with them.
And
because, you talk about the three safety look and Jalen Reed playing the Lion, you can use some of those corners to help out there. Because, yes, you do have Lamont Payne. You do have Tyrese Mills, for example, DeJuan Lane, right? So now I'm up to five safeties now, telling you, what they have there, right? Are they of the level and caliber of KJ? No, of course not, right? There's a reason KJ is who he is. That's why when I had Phil Steele on the show, I campaigned a bit with Phil saying, hey, you got to take a long look at Winston here. And, of course, he's the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week in the first week of the season.
And may I say,
he's an excellent player. And, and no question, you miss a guy like that. There's no question you miss a guy like that. But what are your choices here? You have to now move forward with somebody in there and play them.
And is it fair to assume that going into a game against Kent State is a little better for Penn State in this scenario where they now are without Winston and they can experiment a little bit? Because in the kindest way possible, I don't think they're as concerned with Kent State as they would be even in Illinois on homecoming weekend. Or after that, UCLA, USC. Like, going forward, if there's a week to have to experiment, you've got one here with Kent State where you can test out some guys. Maybe we see a rotation of them where they try and figure out the best scheme, the best system to use with the new lineup. Does it help to have that week to test a little bit?
There's no question about that. That if it goes the way you hope it goes, you can get a lot of people in there and get a good long look in realistic conditions.
Yeah.
As to how they can play, contribute, and do what you want to do. Now, look, you are not going to sit there defensively. If it goes the way you hope it goes, you're not going to sit there and go, hey, let's show everybody everything we have.
Yeah.
No. And I think that, but in terms of your ability to play, and better yet, for those who have had limited time to this point, it gets them to game speed. Oh, okay. And that'll be important for them.
Because if, let's say it is DeJuan Lane, let's say it is him moving forward, that he just fills in, slots into that spot. The more game time you get, the better you get up to game speed. We see it all the time, and it's being discussed right now with Texas, with Arch Manning and Quinn Ewers. You don't particularly need to bring Quinn Ewers back immediately because you have Arch. You can let Quinn heal a little bit, give Arch some more run, give him more game time, because next season he's going to take over anyway. So get him up to full-on game speed, give Quinn time to get back healthy. You're facing UL Monroe, I believe, this week, and they've got someone else next week before a bye week, and then they get the big one against, I think, Oklahoma.
It's Oklahoma.
Like, you can give yourself a little window, a little runway to get more guys in, Arch Manning in that case, or in this case, a DeJuan Lane, or one of the cornerbacks you mentioned. Like, you got a week. You've quote-unquote, you've bought yourself a week to get everyone ready and prepared. And you have Illinois homecoming weekend. You're still staying here in town, which I'm guessing is also going to be a little helpful. You don't have to go anywhere. You're staying here. After that, you have UCLA coming to town. So again, you are staying here. If there is a time for this to have happened, this isn't the worst in the world for Penn State. This isn't a stretch where you got to go against USC or Ohio State right after.
This will help James Franklin and Tom Allen determine on a consistent basis who is among their best 11. This isn't a question of like, oh, that's a spot. No, who are the best 11 you have out there?
Yeah.
Right? You know, there are going to be times among your best 11 may mean 3 linebackers. There may be times among your best 11 in that particular package, maybe 6 defensive backs. There may be a time among your best 11, 3 down linemen. It's a mix and match as to who your best 11 happen to be in the situation you're in, right? Unfortunately for Penn State, it's obvious that of all the packages I just described, KJ Winston was always one of the best 11. Okay? So now you've got to work around that. Well, everybody has to work around something. I mean, everybody does. And, you know, when you build a team, you try to build depth. It's been difficult to build it. And for people who sit back and go, oh, it was the physical preseason. Like, just breathe into a bag, will you? Okay?
Yeah.
Every preseason's like that. They're all physical. Guess what? What do you want them to do? Play flag football in the preseason night? Okay, and then the first game goes, oh, my goodness, they're hitting. What? Oh, I can't believe they're hitting. Like, oh, shocking.
Crazy.
I always love that. Maybe it was the physical preseason. Maybe it shouldn't. Are they too physical in the preseason? Just slow down. Guess what? When you play the first team in the first game, they hit. You know what? Because of the preseason, we're just going to all ease our way in.
Let's do it.
It's just after a while, like, I don't get what's going on here. Everybody wants to bubble wrap kids. Things happen. Things happen. Okay, it's just not. I've had enough people speculate to me as to what the injury is, and of course I've said nothing. Like, look at it like.
All we know is it is a long-term injury, and that is all we kind of need to know.
Right.
Like, we don't need to know anything specific because, spoiler, everyone comes back from things differently in terms of injuries. Jordan Love was rumored to be out for 5 weeks, and he's possibly going back this week.
Right.
Like, everyone's different, so let's chill out a little bit when it comes to this injury stuff. Like, he's out for a long-term time. That could mean 2 months. That could mean the season. That could mean 3 weeks. Because everyone's long-term is different.
I just talked about the bubble. Yeah. We should put players in a bubble.
Yeah.
Should bubble wrap them. And there's Jason Lord. Metallica, May 23rd and May 25th at the Link. Here's a guy that has no money.
Yeah. Announced yesterday was the 167 modern era candidates for the class of the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
That included 16 players who became eligible this season. I wanted to go through the names, and I want you to give me an idea of if you believe they might be able to enter the Hall by chance.
Sure.
So in terms of the first-time candidates that are now have a shot of getting in, you have Eli Manning. Mm-hmm. You've got Luke Kuechly.
Well, let's start
with Eli.
Let's start with Eli Manning. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because Eli Manning did something that other people did not do, except for Nick Foles.
Yeah.
He not only won over the Patriots in the Super Bowl twice,
mm-hmm.
he was the MVP in both of them.
Yeah.
For a franchise that has been at crosshairs for a long time, he was the difference maker in winning too. Mm-hmm. I think he is a Hall of Famer.
He's a Hall of Famer.
I know there are going to be a lot of people about, the number of losses the Giants had and so forth. This is what I pointed out. A student sent me his project. It was excellent. He did a great job on it. And he pointed out that Bryce Young is 2-15 as the starter with Carolina. And I said, for some perspective, Carolina is 2-15 with him as the starter. It's a team game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have two former Defensive Players of the Year, both Luke Kuechly and Terrell Suggs, both nominated.
Not first. They're not going to get in the first time.
Yeah, I think
now it doesn't mean they won't eventually get in, but
they both have chances down the line to get in. I agree,
but not now.
Then the next name who I think might get in as a first timer, or I hope does, Adam Vinatieri, probably one of the, if not the greatest kickers of all time.
Vinatieri will make it, but again,
first time is tough.
The first time is tough because there's only 5 spots available. That's the issue. But Vinatieri will eventually make it.
You've got two-time All-Pro guard Marshall Yanda, who I similarly think will make it at some point. He was just a monster, so I think he's got a shot. The rest of the first-time candidates include offensive lineman Travis Frederick, Ryan Khalil, and Joe Staley. Thoughts on any of them? No way or the other?
No.
Running backs Marshawn Lynch and Darren Sproles. I think they're both interesting candidates. I don't think they'll get in.
I don't think either one is going to get in. Lynch, of course, with a lot of publicity off the field.
Yeah.
He did some really good things on the field, both at Buffalo and with Seattle. But do I think there are better running backs? Yeah.
You have wide receiver Demaryius Thomas, tight ends Vernon Davis and Delaney Walker. I think Vernon Davis has a chance, down the line.
I mean, I'm talking he's years away.
And you've got DBs Antoine Bethea, Aqib Talib, and Earl Thomas.
Earl Thomas is the best of that group, but it's going to be a while for him, too.
Agreed. And then when it comes to finalists from last year's list who did not make it into the Hall, who I think all kind of have a chance in their own way, you have Antonio Gates at tight end.
Gates is a guy I think the door may open this time for him.
Agreed. You've got receivers Torrey Holt and Reggie Wayne. I think
both of those guys I thought were, this is we're only having 5 Hurts guys like that. They're both really terrific players.
Yeah.
No doubt.
They're both incredible. And you've got, outside of them, offensive lineman Willie Anderson and Bloomsburg University graduate Jari Evans and Saints player Jari Evans, who I want to see make the Hall, but that's just personality. I want that to happen. But he was in the finals. He almost got in. Think they're going to get in this year?
No.
Yay, nay?
No.
You have defensive backs Darren Woodson, Eric Allen, and Rodney Harrison.
Rodney Harrison might be close. Again, the problem that some of these guys will have is there a first-timer that bumps somebody back a year?
Yeah.
It's always the people that are added in that cause the issue.
Yeah.
And some guys.
The other players on this list would be defensive lineman Jared Allen and running back Fred Taylor are the last 2 that did not get in of the last 10.
Fred Taylor's a terrific running back with Jacksonville. He really was. He was outstanding. Allen was an excellent pass rusher with the Vikings.
And how this works, as you kind of hinted at, the list will then drop down to 50 players in mid-October. That'll get announced. So we've got about a month. Then the 50-person Hall of Fame committee will drop that down to 25 semifinalists, and then 15 finalists will be announced ahead of the meeting during Super Bowl weekend, and then we'll find out if the list who will make it in is the new class. It consists of 3, 4, or 5 modern era players under the current bylaws and current rules. So that is the list we're looking at right now. There are, I believe, a total of 167 players who are up for this season, including guys who are first timers. We mentioned the guys who are returning.
I mean, there are contributors and so forth. For example, there are a lot of people who have taken joy in the fact that Robert Kraft is he's not going to get in, you know. And then, hey, look, the Patriots thing bothers some people, and so no, he's not going to get in. That's why the Belichick thing is going to be interesting when he's eligible for it.
Yeah.
Now it's obvious Belichick should get in, but there's going to be some people that aren't going to vote for him because they think he had quote advantages. How about that? So
we'll see. And I like seeing where this is going to go. I'm intrigued by it. It does make me feel a little old, though, seeing players who I grew up watching now nominated for the Hall of Fame. That feels a little weird to me. But next year is going to be the weirder one because next year the nominees will include Drew Brees, Larry Fitzgerald, LaShawn McCoy, Frank Gore, and a list of players who
Gore and McCoy, no.
But
in fact, I wouldn't vote for McCoy.
No.
Ever.
You also have Marquise Pouncey, by the way, is on this list for next year's. So he's got a chance.
He won't make it first year. He'll eventually make it. It'll take him a few years. He'll make it. Breeze will get in the first time. Larry Fitzgerald will get in the first time. See, that's the issue with the names that you talked about, because Fitzgerald will definitely make it.
So those two out of 5 slots?
Breeze will definitely make it. Right? LaShawn McCoy, no. In fact, LaShawn McCoy is not going to get into the Hall of Fame. He's not.
He's not better than. I'd say Gore's better than him.
Gore would get in before. LaShawn McCoy. Now, part of it too is I remember his recruiting trip here, and I remember what he did.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's always has nothing to do with him going to Pitt, right? He's not here. He went to Pitt because people here said the Penn State players told Joe, do not recruit him, and Joe said, okay,
yeah.
Well, I'm just telling you, that's what happened here. I can tell you who was involved in this, but I'm not going to give the names out.
I know. But it is just interesting to see this as the list and kind of who is on it for next season because, as you mentioned, there's 5 slots open. Spoiler, 2 of them are gone for next year. You can have at minimum 3. So there's 1 to 3 slots for guys who don't get in this season. Right. And that's tough.
I mean, there's contributors, and then there's an one, or I think it's 2 of the quote old timers that can get in.
Yeah, it is. I'm pulling it up. The full list. 20 finalists. It's something like that. There's some numbers of who gets in when and how and how it all kind of works.
I think they end up usually 7 or 8, but it's only 5 on the list of 167 you're talking about. That means 162 are not going to make it.
Which is crazy. But then, of course, many of them will come back for this next season. And some, I think there's a certain time period where you get eliminated from this list.
Yes, and then you get transition to the other list.
The other one, which is even more loaded of people because there's a lot of people in that list. But that's not to say that we don't enjoy watching these guys play. I know one of the special teamers that got up last year who I loved and appreciated as a fan but did not get in because, spoiler, he was great but not great for long enough, was Josh Cribbs. Watching players like him is fun, but my God, it's weird, as I said, seeing people who I watched play now be nominated for the Hall of Fame, and Drew Brees next year is gonna hurt me in a weird kind of way. So that's a thing.
See, it's different for me because, it's not like I didn't broadcast a Drew Brees game in my career when he was at Purdue. It's like, okay, fine.
But now I'm all of a sudden in the class of people who are old enough to have seen these guys play. Or in the case of a Luke Kuechly who didn't play for too long, I watched him join the NFL, play for the NFL, leave the NFL, and now get nominated for the Hall of Fame in the NFL.
Right.
That's weird. What's not weird, though.
Okay. Well, I want to actually get to something that is a little bit different than that.
Go for it.
Okay, it's what Tennessee's doing.
Ooh, I was going to ask about this. You beat me to the punch. So Tennessee has announced a 10%.
It's called a 10% talent fee.
Yeah.
On tickets they'll pay athletes as part of the new revenue sharing. Right? Now, let's start with this. Again, the NCAA always plays from behind. When they told you could have corporate logos on the field, you should have also said you're allowed to put corporate logos on the jerseys. Okay? So that people could get a cash reserve now for when this is supposed to go into effect next year should the settlement be approved by Judge Claudia Wilkin. You can't always keep playing from behind. You can't always be dictated by stupid. You can't be dictated by stupid.
Yeah.
Okay? You can't. I don't understand who makes these decisions, right? Okay, we can have corporate logos in the field. Okay, I got it. That's great. I could care less. I mean, I do bowl games, for goodness sakes. There are corporate logos all over the field. Do you even think after 5 minutes I even notice they're out there? No, right? It's look, the ball's at the 25, right? Sure, there's a corporate logo there, but it's 3rd and 10.
Yeah.
Okay, right? I don't care. Okay, if it helps pay for whatever they're doing, that's fine. Hey, I'm watching a little bit of the Pirates game last night, and and they've got the Sheets logo. Not big,
just there.
It's on the sleeve. The Yankees have Star Insurance on the sleeve. Right? You see that. We've talked about the Vista print with the Celtics. We've talked about
Squarespace for the Knicks.
Chime for the Mavericks. I'm going with the really good teams. And what?
Continue. I'm
just talking about the teams that played deep into June.
Of course.
All right, so,
but
my point is they've been doing it, and you don't notice it.
No.
And why you're sitting there. Just come up with the same parameters that the NBA, Major League Baseball use and do this.
Yeah.
Right? And they instead, we're going to table it. Table it for what reason? Let people start getting cash ahead of time instead of doing this.
It's crazy.
Okay? It's a 10% talent fee on tickets set to begin in 2025.
And what I will say, firstly, with Tennessee, they were the first school to announce the field sponsor. They got Pilot. They were the first big school to say, here's a field sponsor. So AD Danny White is already starting the ball rolling on things. And what I will say is, while it is going to hurt, the fact that if there's some schools that could do this and pull off the 10% fee raise and still be okay. Tennessee's one of them. They're playing really well, and they're up and up.
Maybe. I'll point. I got a couple points to make about this.
But we'll get there. And what I will also say is a lot of times organizations, when they raise prices, just say, we're raising prices to stay competitive or whatever. Or they just say that. He's outwardly saying it, telling fans, this is why we're doing this, is because we need to, due to what is happening. And I at least respect the honesty. I respect the fact that he was like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This is why we're doing it.
Okay, well, here's the bottom line.
So let's hear.
You want to know what Tennessee football is? Okay, $134.9 million in revenue. Expenses, $59.1 million. Profit, $75 million. Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're a Tennessee fan. You want a 10% fee put on your ticket, but you're making a $75 million profit. But, of course, the money's going to all these sports that lose money across the board except for men's basketball. Men's basketball makes money at Tennessee. They're the only other sport. Oh, but they're in the College World Series. That's nice. Lost money. Tennessee women's basketball. Oh, lost money. I see the numbers.
Yeah.
I go through and I look at the numbers. Okay, I don't sit here and go and make an assumption. I actually go and look it up before I make the statements because
you come with facts.
But you need accurate information. If you're going to sit here and do this show, don't make stuff up. Don't. Okay? Look at people and say, hey, they lose money here. I've looked up Tennessee.
Yeah.
Okay? So now you're talking about their attendance, 101,915.
Mm-hmm.
They have 70,500 season tickets.
Mm-hmm.
There's a waiting list of 15,000. When they were not winning, their attendance fell to an average of 88 to 89,000 per year. Now, to their credit, they're back on track. Josh Heupel's done a great job. The stadium is sold out again. But when they were going through lean times, which wasn't that long ago,
2 years ago,
right? They were in the upper 80s, and this waiting list wasn't bailing them out.
Nope.
Okay? And so they're in an incredible stretch. Rick Barnes is doing a great job with basketball, right? Josh Heupel's doing a great job with football. Other sports have done well. Baseball,
Incredible.
They've done well with that. It's not going to get them any money. I mean, the goal of the other programs is to lose as little as possible.
Yeah. Get as close to zero as you can.
Right, which they're not doing. And this is, again, part of the problem we have with media today is the absolute inability to talk honestly.
Yeah.
Right? ESPN's the worst when it comes to this. Why? Because they are so tied into the NCAA women's basketball tournament, and they're so tied in now with the WNBA, they don't tell you how much money they're all losing.
Yeah.
Okay? Okay? Title IX, you have to have it. There's no question about that. But some women's basketball programs are losing $3 to $5 million a year. Now, will they tell you that? Oh, it's great. Look at what. Okay, well, it's great. It's a fun product and the whole thing. But guess what? Okay? You need 10% talent fees because of the sports that lose money, not the sports that make money. That's why you need the 10% talent fee.
Yeah.
Because it's the sports that lose the money where you've got to still give them money too. Right? It's that's the way it is. Now, of the $22 million, Tennessee, I'm going to guess will take 70% of that money and it'll go to football. Right? It's probably because it's not going to be a 50-50 split.
It's not.
That's fantasy land. So they're probably going to get 2/3 to 75% of the money to go toward football. But again, the NCAA, seeing this is happening, should give schools the opportunity to sit there and give Pat Kraft the opportunity and Alyssa Francona the opportunity to call WOWY, to call Sheets, to call Rudders, and find or whatever, to call Giant Eagle, to call whomever, okay, and say, hey, Hershey's Company, whatever. What do you think? Right?
Yeah.
Now, if it ends up being $5 to $7 million, let's just pick a round number. Well, guess what? That's $5 to $7 million less you have to come up with.
Every Penn State's never going to say more money is good money. That is the point for them. Is like any dollar they can make here and there, they want to do. And like $5 million, as you said, that's money in the pocket of Penn State. They can then lose less of later on this stuff.
So at Tennessee, in 2025, the cheapest season ticket for a home football game, including taxes, the required contribution and talent fee will cost $453.75 in the family section, which is in the upper deck.
Okay.
Now that's to get a ticket,
a singular ticket
for the season,
which means you're spending about $3,000 a season, give or take,
for a ticket. Yeah, so
tickets,
7 times whatever. Okay,
give or
so
take.
it's $3,000 plus.
Yeah.
Right. So now I want 4. Now I'm paying $12,000. Student ticket prices doubled this season from $10 per game to $20. It'll go up to $25 in 2025. Okay. Remember, under this proposal, football will go from 85 to 105 scholarships. For schools opting into the new revenue sharing plan will need approximately, now they're saying they need about $30 million to cost the to cover the additional scholarships, because it's not just
It's the money they owe 22-23 plus some.
Yeah, because now you're adding 20 scholarships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh. Basketball, you're adding 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, Tennessee's fundraising last year was $139.7, the highest total in the athletic department fundraising history.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee has doled out hefty raises recently to administrators and coaches. White is now the highest-paid athletic director in the country among public universities, $2.75 million per year in his extended contract.
Well,
his contract remains a 6-year rolling deal that runs through July 2030. He could earn up to $600,000 in incentives. Baseball coach Tony Vitello went to $3 million per year in August, making him the highest-paid baseball coach in the country. But Tennessee baseball does not make money. They don't.
Yeah.
Okay? The Tennessee radio deal is with football and basketball with add-ons of other sports. Okay? Coaches show, things like that. Right? The TV contract is for football and men's basketball, and the SEC network picks up all the other stuff. It's okay? But they're paying $3 million to the baseball coach. And by the way, Mike Gambino is a damn good coach. Right? So I want Mike to get as much as possible because I want Mike to stay here for a couple decades. All right? But this is where the issues are coming up. Right? And I'll give you a story that I know, and this person is no longer associated with Northwestern. He is no longer there, okay? But he was in the Northwestern athletic department. The women's lacrosse coach, and they had won 5 straight national championships. Great coach, great job, the whole thing. Came in and said, you either give me more money or I'm leaving. And he was the one in the room. Now, she ended up staying, by the way, so just so everybody knows. He said, what are you talking about? He says, I could pull somebody off the streets of Evanston that could lose as much money as you do. That's what he said to her. That's what he said to her. Now, it doesn't mean she's not a great coach. It doesn't mean she doesn't graduate players. It doesn't mean she doesn't enrich the lives of the women she coaches. I got all that. But on a bottom line basis, right, it gives you a lot of prestige that they won. It's great. But at the same time, on a budgetary matter, you've got to work around this.
Yeah.
Right? It's not, okay? I've used the Ford Lincoln Mercury thing the entire time. Okay? When you go to a Ford dealership, where are the Mercuries? Where?
I don't know.
That's because they're not in the lot anymore. Why? Underperforming line that was costing Ford Motor Company money. So now it's Ford and Lincoln. Right? Why are they, okay? A friend of mine has a Ford dealership. Not here. It's out of town. Okay, it's an out of town Ford dealership, so it's not local in State College. And when I went there, it was on the lot. I ended up buying a car there. And when just in chit chat, I said, "Hey, by the way," I says, "how are you guys doing with It was just chit chat. You know, it wasn't no agenda or anything like that. Just out of curiosity, because it's not like I'm roaming car lots. All right, I haven't bought a car in 12 years. And I said, Chris, I said, where are the electric vehicles? I said, I just want to look at them. He goes, well, we don't have any. I said, you don't have any? So why not? He says, well, we had them on the lot. He said, you know how many we sold last year? 6. He said, we couldn't keep them. Okay? So now let's bring this back to sports. Because of Title IX, which is a good thing, so let's not pretend it's not. You don't think that I don't think it's great that the women's volleyball team was down there ranked 3rd in the country playing number 1 Pitt last night? Awesome. You don't think Erica Dombach, what she's done with women's soccer? Phenomenal. I mean, all the way through. I mean, Clarissa Crowell and I spoke together down at Camp Hill to the Harrisburg Capital City, right? And she just brought Penn State to the NCAA women's softball tournament. So believe me, I'm all in. But we also have to have realism as to how we do this, because the money is, right, there's only so much you can get, right? Where people start saying, oh boy, okay, they want more, right? Okay, there's only so much out there.
Yeah.
And especially the way everything's been, and this is not political, please. This is not a political statement, especially the way things have been the last 4 years. Okay? Inflation high, grocery store prices, the whole thing, right? Hey, there's less, like, to spend. Or you make decisions on spending. You know, you're going down to Legoland or something like that. Legoland? No? No, come on. I thought it was a big vacation for you. Hey, you told me you were saving up the entire time.
No.
Disney World?
No. That's Jerry.
Oh, Jerry is Disney World.
Yeah.
But you see what I'm saying? When you're being asked to make choices on your entertainment, right? Some people are making their choices on entertainment by sportsbook and not going to games. Some people are making their choices going to games. See, the people that go to the games, and I've said this 1,000 times, so I'll make it 1,001. They're your gold. They are your gold. Okay? They create the atmosphere. They're the ones that make the commitment. They're the ones that put in the time. Okay? Okay? Beyond just the TV contract that's piping the game into your living room.
Yeah.
Okay? Penn State has 94,000 season ticket holders, which includes the student season tickets, so everybody knows, okay? So it's like, what, 72,000 season ticket holders in the stadium, 22,000, the students, 94,000. I mean, that's unbelievable to have that, okay? Mine your gold, okay? Don't always take a ball peen and tap your gold, mine it. Okay, those people are gold. There are ways to do this, and the NCAA has got to get out of the way. When they sit there and they say, hey, we'll let you do logos in the field. You have other leagues, Premier League, okay, NHL, NBA, Major League Baseball, okay, that are showing you the way to do it. Now, I'm not saying, hey, you're going to come out there and suddenly Wisconsin's there, fly Emirates.
But you're going to say... sleeve.
Right. You're seeing that the American way of doing it, as opposed to the Premier League, right, is subtle and evidently based on what people are saying effective. The Golden State Warriors deal is for $20 million a year. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, $20 million a year is the Golden State Warriors deal.
Yeah.
That's the top-out number right now. How much would the Dallas Cowboys be worth?
Can't even imagine.
Right. Yeah, and you could say, they stink. It has nothing to do with this. This is about brand, people.
They are.
You got to put your petty little "I hate somebody" aside and just say, "Hey,
I hate the Cowboys, but my God, they make money."
Right. But you watch them. Okay, you watch them to do two things. There are people that watch them to win, and there are people that watch them to crash and burn. All right. How much is Penn State worth to put a logo on a sleeve?
It's a nice chunk of change.
A logo on a wrestling singlet. Logo on a basketball jersey. How much is Ohio State worth? How much is Michigan worth?
Cannot even imagine.
Right, just to put it there because of the pure popularity, with football leading the way, because of the pure popularity of football. College football is the second most popular sport in the country. We could talk about the Yankees all we want. Okay, baseball is not in the same realm of popularity as college football is. No. It's just not. Maybe 30, 40 years ago, yes, but not now. And I love baseball. But the NCAA has got to get out of the way and allow revenue streams that don't put the burden on the fans to keep doing it. That's me. I just, okay, Okay, it's okay if you want to do like maybe a little bit here, a little bit there, but give them a revenue stream that gives them a chance to make a dent in this. And they sit there. This should have been passed in June. Mm-hmm. And they should have been on the jerseys this year. Why? So you could get a head start on next year.
But as we say, the NCAA doesn't make smart decisions, Steve.
It's just, I just get baffled by, okay. Being a really good business person, you're not going to make every decision that's perfect, right? But the really good ones, 8 times out of 10, are forward thinkers. Okay? And because they're forward thinkers, they have a pretty good feel for anticipation, and they make the right move. That's why they are where they are. 20% of the time, hey, look, there's going to be a failure. It happens. Okay? I mean, my dad had a small business. Right? 80% of the decisions he made were great, and every 20% you're like, okay, well, that didn't work out. Right? You hoped. Right? But that's what happens when you're taking risk. Well, at the NCAA, who has a business mind that thinks? I don't understand where their business sense comes from.
You know where it comes from? Jason Lord.
Oh, well, he's blowing more money on Metallica to see the exact same songs he saw the last time he went.
Thank you for listening to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, a 7 Mountain Media production. Come back at 11 every weekday for analysis of the latest happening in the sports landscape. From college football to European soccer, Steve and Kyle cover it all on Sports Talk with Steve Jones.